Welcome everyone in another CRYENGINE tutorial about inventory system. I am Fury22 and today is part 2 of the inventory system in CRYENGINE. So we're gonna continue what we did in the last video. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, I highly recommend you to go and do that. Also support me by subscribing and put some comments down below finally, because it's all empty. So let's start with what we finished in the last video. So we got our array, which is gonna contain all of the items. Initialize function with empty out everything. Add slot item to particular slot. Add out item automatically, which we're gonna remove because it's not needed over here. And two debug buttons. So this function we're gonna hide it because it's gonna just okay. This is something that you're gonna work with from the C++. Usually, I mean, I don't remember if I have it in my inventory or not, but I think this function pretty much spawn an item, check if check all of the slots, which one is empty, and put it in the first empty slot. But we're gonna do it from the C++, so we're gonna grab this and remove this function from here, at least for now. I didn't plan everything so nicely, so I might need to come back to this function later. My inventory is much bigger, so I don't even remember how I did something. So now what we have over here, what our item is able to do. Something's wrong here. Oh yeah, because that was different function over here. Yeah, now it should do. Still not showing up. Okay, slot ID. Oh yeah, there it is, because that's the old function that I removed. Okay, so now it is gonna work. Yeah, it's showing up in the particular slot which is given by this function. Now we want this item to be clickable, so when we click on it, we're gonna drag it and drop it. Yeah, so we want function, let's call it activate item, and it's gonna have one parameter, which is item. We're gonna pass from here. Once the item is spammed and is put in the right place, then activate it and pass item. We pass this object, which is the sword in this case, or whatever you put there. This is gonna go automatically for the each element you have in the library. Activates item and passes this item to here so we can work on it. First of all, what we want to do, we want to press this item and be able to drag it, start dragging. So this start drag true. Let's see what it does. So go here. If I press, you can see I can drag it, but if I release, the button is still sticks out to my cursor. So I want this to be also work on release. So item on press. The very important thing is you need to do another thing over here, like I'm doing now, on release outside. Outside function. What is this for? Is because if you drop the item, let's say you're moving it around and you release your mouse and it stays in some position, it's gonna work with on press. But if you if it snaps somewhere and you release it outside the actual element, then it is going to cause some trouble. It's just not gonna work or something. This stop dragging, stop drag. You don't need this true anymore. So let's see what it does. See, as you can see, it works with the. I did something wrong over here. Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm fucking stupid. On release, I'm being stupid. Okay. I grab this and I'm moving it around, but if I release it, it's not going along with the cursor anymore. But what we want now, we want it to actually snap to the particular slot. So in this case, when we release it, we want to check if the slot that is our item is over is empty. But let's start. We have 4 slots, so let's do 4 I++, and now if our item, and this is important function, hit test, if it hits the root slot plus I, then snap it. If it hit test, it's just function that when this element will be somewhere in the slot, will touch it or something, this will be activated. When obviously when we release, this is gonna be checked. If it's over one of the slots, then place it in the slot that we want. I'm copying everything because, you know, why not? What we want now is I over here. That should do. Let's see. Now I'm moving it around, but when I put it, oh, you can see it snapped over here. It snaps over here. Now it's going back here. Yeah, like this. Depends where your item is. If it would be more square, that would be more visible. Why is it snapping like it is snapping now? Okay. It snaps the right element, so yeah. Good. We got this, and but it's not everything. We want to check if this slot is empty, because if it's not, why should it snap? Yeah. So if inventory array I, because it takes the same number like the slot number, is empty, then put it in the slot and assign this item to this slot. Anyways, it is going to work, but it's just, I don't need to show you that because nothing will change since the last time anyways. We have two things now over here, but as you can see, they are not gonna work like properly because they have the same ID. So we need to change the ID every time, which every element, which is exactly the same like in CRYENGINE. Every single element has exactly different, all have different IDs. So but now when we press it, we want this slot to be empty, this array which contains our items. So we want to do similar thing with this. I'm gonna copy that and press over here. If item heat test. When you on press, obviously when you press it, heat test is one of these, and then we are going to just empty the slot. Just make it empty so none of other elements can not slot ID. Sorry, that's also wrong over here. You're gonna empty it. So now when you press it, it's gonna start dragging it and check which slot is the current slot and empty it quickly. When you release it, it's gonna check all of these slots, check which slot we are over now, and check if this slot is actually empty and snap it to this slot. What we need now, if we release it on the slot that is not empty actually, which is this scenario is not true, just else, we want it to go back to the previous slot, and that's something that is actually quite tricky because we have to change a lot of things from the beginning. So we need to add a couple of properties for our item. What we need to add is item dot, and that's how you create this new property. Slot, let's say, you can do as whole, whatever. I call it slot, and slot ID. So when you add item, this item will have new property, slot, and it's gonna contain which slot is it already in. So in this case, we are actually making it easier for your computer to handle, because when you press it, you don't need to check which slot is over, because we already know that what's the current slot. So if you press it, then we don't need loop, we don't need to check which slot is it over now. All we need to grab our item dot slot. That's it. It's gonna take number of the slot that it's already in and just simply empty it. That's it. Similar thing comes here, because if you want to when you release on the slot any of them, you want also make a new slot over here. So it's gonna be item slot, and its new slot that is assigned to is gonna be I, number 0, 1, 2, or 4, or 3, of course. And so now we just because I added this, we have a lot of, a lot more easy things. Like, okay, if the slot we are snapping it is empty, it's obviously assigning the slot, putting in the position, and filling up the slot. Cool, but the thing is that if we put it in the slot that is not empty, we need to put it back to the previous slot. So what we are going to do now is we are going to not just put it back in the previous slot. So we are going to just remove this and put it back in item slot. Put it back in the item slot. So if it's 0, then it's going to put, and this one is already occupied, then obviously. Inventory array, then and here we also need to put it back in the item slot that it was previously. Yeah, that should do. we need to create two elements now to show you, to check if it works. So we're gonna add item sword to slot 0 and to slot 1, but their ID has to be different. It has to be, otherwise the Flash will not recognize which one is which. So we got two items now. As you can see, it snaps to the slots, but if I try to snap it to this one, as you can see, it comes back. It's good. No matter what you do, it will never snap to this slot. Notice that it's very important, when you press it, empty this slot like I did here. When I press it, I empty it. I put it in the null. That's what happens. Because if I don't, then this slot will be occupied still, even if I press on it, and there is no element. So if you're a programmer, you have to check all the scenarios that you can just that you would expect from your players of your game. What would they do if you make a armor menu that you have your character and you put on him, I don't know, gloves or shoes or armor or something like this? You have to expect the players to try to put the shoes on his head so they can't snap there. Otherwise, like, what the fuck, yeah? So yeah, it seems to work quite well. Why is it only quite well? Is because we need to do what do we need to do? I have to think. Just let me think a little bit. Okay, we got this. Okay, now I know what we have to do. We have to do some things like do something else. Obviously, they will snap anywhere because the slots are close to each other. But what if I put it over here? You see, it doesn't snap anywhere. I have to put it back in here. So we want let's say you have inventory system like we always do. So if I you can do like you have two options. You can grab this, and when you put it somewhere else, it should snap back to the slot. Or second scenario, if you grab this and put it outside the inventory, your character drops the item, and that's what I prefer to do. So we want to create another function, remove item movie clip. Okay, cool. Remove item. Now, when we release it, but that because that's the only thing we have to work with, because this is when you release it, obviously outside. So release, when we release it one of the slots, then these things happen. But if I release it somewhere else outside of the slots, then it should remove item, which is item. Not sure if it's gonna work. It might be some problem with the loop. We will see, but the easiest way to do it is trace removing item. It's just showing the message in the console. We will see how many times is it being called. It's gonna be called 4 times, obviously. See, 4 times, okay. Okay, that's not. So, what we want to do now, we're gonna grab this item, and we're gonna unload movie, and it's item. Cool. Let's see what happens, if it works or not. As you can see, it disappears, and it's not anywhere here anymore. It just disappears. So in this case, if you want to drop it in the CRYENGINE, we need these UI events like we did in my previous videos. fs command, you remember that. If you don't, then watch my previous videos. I think this is all functionality that we need actually. Do we need anything else? I thought it's gonna be longer than this, but yeah, that's pretty much all we need. So I'm gonna grab these our debug buttons, put them aside. I'm not removing them because I might need them later, and there might be some mistakes I made. Obviously, I can't because obviously I'm recording video and I'm talking and I'm not really thinking of that like obviously when I program something for my game, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm alone, and it's easier to concentrate. Now it's a little bit more difficult. However, I'm doing my best. Okay, now we need to expose a few of them to the CRYENGINE. Yeah, what I usually do, I usually create something like this over here. CRYENGINE functions and events. I put them over here, and it's easy to find them later and put them in the UI element file. And now we are thinking, what do we need in the CRYENGINE? We need to initialize this. We need to empty out all the slots on the beginning of the game, unless you are loading game from something, but this is a topic for different video. So we want to have function initialize. We want to have function add item. I'm gonna copy it. How I know there are functions, because obviously that over here. What else do I know? Do I need to activate item from the C++ CRYENGINE? I don't, because it's automatically being activated when you add the item. So it's automatically being activated, as I said. Do I need to remove item? Not really. Although if you drop the item like pressing J button in the CRYENGINE, then it could disappear from here, but for now I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna create for this and some other function. Oh, you will do. We need those two. We don't. We need just these two functions. And what else do we need? We need any variables. We will, but just in a while. Let's open it because we're gonna need this. Okay. When you press it, we want to have event that is pressed. So we want to communicate and update our inventory system in the C++ with this one in the Flash. So fs command. Let's call it empty slot, and we are going to empty the slot number, and let's go with the slot number. Item slot. That's it. That's all we need for the CRYENGINE. What else do we need? When we release it on the top of item, we need to fs command. We need event fill slot. You can call it whatever. I just do it usually like this, and it's gonna be I, which fill. Okay, in this case we want apart from the slot number, we are probably gonna need what kind of item is that, right? So that would be cool if we create something else, when we add item to inventory, it would be good for this item to have property that we can access later, ID, which would be ID. Why am I doing this? This is like just like a slot. This is a new property, but it's always gonna be the same. So, I mean, you will. I think, yeah, that's gonna be fine. If we add this, then we can access it later. Like if we drop it somewhere in the inventory, then fs command fill slot, and there is unfortunately there is only one parameter in this. Unfortunately, really, I wish there was more of them. Parameters item ID. In this case, this will call the event in CRYENGINE fill slot and pass this argument ID, so we know what kind of item is being added to this particular slot. And we're gonna do the same in here. Yeah, we don't need item ID over here just because obviously this is just emptying slot, so you just empty whatever it is in the slot. But in this case, we need that. The problem about this is you need also slot ID. So if you drop it somewhere over, let's say on the slot number 3, which is number 4, and we want to let the CRYENGINE know that this slot is being changed anyhow by this, we need to know which slot, which is we're gonna create another variable. Inventory slot ID number -1. It doesn't matter what number it is. I'm just doing it because if you just declare it, then CRYENGINE, for some reasons, CRYENGINE does not see this variable anymore. So the best way is just -1. Doesn't matter what. The important thing about it is before you call the event inventory slot ID variable is I. So we know which slot is being, filled up. Same thing goes here, just with different. Okay. So now when we drop it in one of the slots, it changes this variable. So in the CRYENGINE, we're gonna check this variable, which slot we should fill up, and then we fill up the slot with the item of ID, blah blah blah. And it's the same over here. This is scenario when it goes back to the snaps back to the previous slot. We also have this drop item over here kind of thing. So we have to make fs command drop item, let's say. Oh god, I was sleepy as fuck. Worked yesterday on my game a lot and I did a lot of progress, so forgive me that. Item, we want to know which we don't need which slot. Yeah, but anyway, this is not a slot because you are just dropping item. We need the item ID. So when you drop the item from the inventory, we let them know game entity ID in the CRYENGINE, and this recognizes which entity you should drop to the ground. So that's good. Now we have to sum this up like this. Events. What events we have? We have empty slot. It's case sensitive with the parameter item slot. I'm writing it like this. I'm gonna just figure out later. Fill slot item ID. The problem about it is we got another one. drop item ID as well. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna add some variables. It's gonna be just one variable. Inventory slot ID, and this is int. I'm just writing it like this just to let myself know. But what I usually do, I just you know, tell myself what is this and what is that in the end. So this int variable is used to define which slot is to be filled up. Works together with fill slot event. So like you can see, it's just for my information when I look at this code like 2 or 3 months later. Yeah, I think that's all we need for the CRYENGINE. Yeah, that's gonna be good. Yeah, that's all for now, and all for this video. It's gonna already like half an hour, and the next videos, 1 or 2, are gonna air tomorrow, and I would like to show you tomorrow we are going to start creating XML file, which is going to be very quick, and then we are going to get into the C++, but there will be much more work than here, just because we are working with the third-person shooter, and we will have to create a pickup and drop system, which does not exist in a CRYENGINE third-person or first-person shooter. And it does not exist, so we have to implement it from the very beginning, which is gonna pain in the ass. So I have to prepare some files and stuff. So that's it for now. We can publish it, and the next video I'm gonna continue from that point. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you will keep supporting me and watching my videos. And yeah, see you in the next video. See you later.